Hey, this is Joe Whyte, the voice of Chris Redfield from Resident Evil, the remake from 2002, and you are listening to the Movie Raid Show.
It's time for the Movie Raid. Tonight's victim is voice actor Joe Whyte, that has done many voiceover films and as well as video games such as the 2002 Resident Evil remake and Chicken Little, amongst many others. Hello.
Hello. How's it going, everybody? Nice to talk to you.
Do we have anything going on, any cons or any other projects that you care to share, or anything that's recently released that we haven't checked out yet?
Yes. Got Heidi Anderson-Swan, who plays Jill Valentine. We have Peter Jessup, who plays Albert Wesker, and Hope Levy. Fire and Ice RGX Expo. That is up in Roseville, California, and that is going to be on June 20th. If you go to the Crimson Head podcast, crimson-head.com, and we have a little calendar up there where you can see all the stuff that we're doing, all of our upcoming podcasts and appearances at conventions and whatnot. Actually, in August, I will be shooting a movie. It's called Resurrection. It's a Resident Evil fan film directed by Andrew Salo, who directed The Keeper's Diary. I don't know if you've had a chance to see that. And I will not be playing Chris Redfield. I will be playing an Army general.
Now, being hired by a well-established company like Capcom and other multiple projects, do you feel it's kind of like a bittersweet moment after the project is finished due to companies' recycle policies and contracts that they commonly do throughout each year using their projects? Do you feel like sometimes they feel like there can be too much of that recycling going on with a lot of these artists with these projects?
Not with the projects that I've been involved with. They do a lot of recycling. No, I don't think they recycle too much. I think they recycle as much as they have to. If you're a company that's creating a world like they have done with Resident Evil, they've created this entire mythos of the characters and the world that they're in and the circumstances, you're kind of bound to stay within that realm. I mean, you can create new aspects of that, but once you have established that and fans like it, if you go too far outside of that box, you're going to get a lot of pushback from fans. People want to stay in a world that they enjoy, in a world that they know. When they did Resident Evil 7, it was so far outside of the box of what they had done before. They got so much pushback on, the design, the characters, the protagonist, the antagonist. I mean, everything was just so different in 7. They're trying to expand the story and give the fans more to take it outside of the box so that they can continue to grow the world. So, in that sense, they are recycling, but I think they're also innovating. I feel like Capcom is doing as much as they can to innovate. Now, I've heard rumors about Resident Evil 9 coming out, and that it's supposed to be very different from the games that have gone before, both in story and gameplay. I don't know how true the rumors are, and I don't know how far they're going to push it, but that's what I've heard, and I'm really looking forward to find out exactly what they're going to do with it. We'll all find out when we all find out.
Yeah, every franchise and every type of saga that has gained their own popularity as far as fame goes, do you feel these companies also try to do the whole reclaim acclaim for these, trying to be not just better, but also to kind of go back to recycling to be acclaim again? It's like, well, we're going to make this just as bigger, but it's different. Do you think that could also hurt the artists to a degree, even though they've been in something popular or they've already had their own popularity on their own terms on other projects?
Well, change is always hard. I think video gamers don't readily embrace change as much as they should. Everyone wants what they know and love, so it's always a challenge, and it's a balancing act that the company has to. It's a tight wire that they have to walk between, well, as I said before, between following the trail that they've already laid down and creating new roads for people to go down, and hopefully that they will like. I was just doing an interview with two independent game makers, two indie game makers they actually live in North Macedonia, and Bobby and Zane, they are making a game called Causal fear. We talked a little bit about the difficulties that they have and the difference between being an independent game maker and being a big company. They are much more nimble and able to turn on a dime and make the decisions that a big company would not be able to make. And that's both a good and a bad thing. They don't have the funding to do the scope of games that the big companies do, but they're also not bound by the same issues that tend to hobble big companies from making new product. Again, I believe Capcom is doing everything they can to innovate and to bring new concepts and new styles of gameplay to the industry, and still embracing the love of the franchise, which is Resident Evil, that so many people love and enjoy playing, myself included. I'm a big gamer. I love playing all those games. I still play them all the time. I still play my game all the time.
On artists that establish themselves with either a union or other companies of whatever route that they choose, do you feel that there are more limitations to perform in certain areas within the industry that you are in, or film, or anything else related, as far as the community goes? Do you think that they might even be rejected by other companies because of their association with it?
Yeah, when you sign a contract with a company, if it's a union project, you're signing a union contract to have certain protections and to have a certain level of pay. And when I say protections, things like you can't do more than 4 hours in a given voiceover session, and those protections are there to take care of your voice and make sure that you don't overdo it, and that your pay level is going to be a certain level that's established by the union. If you're a non-union actor, you're not going to be able to work on a union project. You have to have your SAG card to be in certain projects, and then there's a lot of video game stuff that is non-union. Generally speaking, that's okay. I mean, if you're a SAG actor, of course you're not allowed to perform in a non-union project. A lot of people do it, but if you get caught, you can lose your SAG card, and then you're ineligible to perform in SAG union productions. You have to be careful as a performer what you choose to accept to do. You can't just jump into anything all the time. The difference between union and non-union is a thing. Another thing too is Screen Actors Guild realizes that there are times when an actor needs work, and there are low budget options for companies. If a company is trying to do a video game and they don't have the money to go full union, there are little subcontracts that they can do. They can do low budget film contracts. They can do independent game producer contracts, which generally cost them much less money to do, so the actor can be involved and still be covered by a union contract without having to cost the production company so much money. There are a lot of options like that, and there's a heck of a lot of people who aren't in the union, and they're out there doing voiceover. More power to them. It's difficult as a union actor to fully embrace that, because they're taking a lot of work away from union actors. A lot of these non-union actors are getting taken advantage of by companies who are unscrupulous, and I wish every production could be union and have the protections and the pay levels that union productions have, but not everybody can afford that. So you got to navigate the world, and you got to make choices. As a performer, you have to say, are you willing to, as a union performer, to go out and do non-union stuff and take the chance that you're going to get caught and lose your card? And it's a game that people play. I personally have turned down some non-union work just because I didn't want to take the chance. It's a dangerous kind of world out there as an actor. There's a lot of people who are going to take advantage of you, or try to anyway, and you just have to be aware, get educated as much as you can, and that's on the person. That's on the actors out there to get educated.
Do you feel that between working with a fully well-established company in comparison to working with indie work, granted there's limitations with that, but do you feel that it kind of fluctuates on the work? Like, do you think that's even a bigger risk today, 2025, in comparison to other projects that may have done that was okay then until you reach to a bigger company? Do you think it's harder to establish something or continue to establish something, not just because that you currently need the money? Everybody needs the money.
The industry has evolved, back in the 80s and early 90s was much more Wild West, especially with video games, because they were just being developed. One of the big issues with the video game industry and the unions is that back in the beginning of all of this stuff, video game companies were using non-union talent to do their voiceovers, and when they wanted to improve the quality of the games, and also when established actors and especially big star actors wanted to start doing voiceover work for video games, the unions had to get involved. And the early contracts, the unions met with all of the video game producers, and they said, well, we'll work with you guys, we'll give you a pass on a lot of this stuff, and for instance, residuals. Early in the development of video games, the producers of video games said, we have no way to track. How are we going to track when people are playing the games? How often has this voiceover been heard? And how do we pay residuals on a video game voiceover? We don't know how that works yet. Screen Actors Guild gave them a lot of leeway and said, okay, we'll renegotiate these contracts once you still don't get residuals from working in video games today, because once everything became established, and companies certainly can figure out that stuff, but they don't want to, of course, because they don't want to pay residuals like you do in TV and film. So they basically just said, no, we're not going to do that. And so there are a lot of ongoing strikes against video game companies because they don't want to play ball with the union. They like their profits and they like to keep them in their pocket, and they don't want to pay residuals. And even big stars today, unless they're negotiating their own deals with the video game companies, they're not getting residuals from video games. And it's ironic because video games make more money than the film and TV industries combined. It's a much bigger business footprint. So the money's there. They just don't want to pay it. And I know there's going to be people are going to hear this and they're going to push back and say, well, that's not entirely true. Well, at its core, that's the truth of it. When you get down to brass tacks, why does anybody even begin to make a video game product? It's because they want to make money off of it. It's the bottom line is always the dollar. Conflict in the history of mankind is the conflict between art and business. Artists need business people to fund their projects, and business people need artists to create these products that they sell. It's always an issue. There's always a conflict between the artists and the business people. And one of the big issues with AI these days is business people are going, oh, we can just use AI to create our product, and it's going to be just as good and just whatever. Artists now have another competition, and that's AI. It's already happening with voiceover a lot. You've got these AI voice companies. That's something that's screwing voiceover actors out of work these days. It's becoming harder and harder to get work as a voiceover person because of AI voiceover.
Forming characters throughout your career, including the ones that you've been mostly recognized and also become profitable to the companies, do you feel an artist also has to play pretty much an accountant for the most part of their career, how their character can generate revenue for themselves, not just for the company, and how is it directed to them in the process, not just being an artist themselves?
Well, it's you're given a script and then you create that character for whatever the product is. The company owns that. That's a work for hire, and you really don't have any rights as an actor to do anything else with that character after the game is out and whatnot. That's entirely owned by the company. Now, they can't sell your voice without repercussions, although they do. There have been instances where I've done voiceover for some characters on some projects, and the company releases some other kind of product with that voiceover on it. But they're Resident Evil themed games, and they have some of my voiceover on them. And I didn't sign a contract for that product, and I don't get paid certainly for them to do that. In terms of the accounting, hopefully that's done by the industry and by the company, and they know that they owe you certain monies for certain things, and hopefully they pay you. That's one of the things that the union is there for. In union work, the union keeps track of everything that is out there that you do, and they pay you. The checks that I get for residuals from TV and movies that I've done come from Screen Actors Guild. They don't come from they do come from the companies, but they're sent to Screen Actors Guild, and then SAG sends them to me. In terms of being your own accountant, yeah, you can keep track, and you should, because in a very blatant move by a company to reuse voice work that you've done for a product on some other product, you may have grounds for some kind of legal action to be made for.
Chris Redfield is a major recognized character in Resident Evil, obviously, and being a part of that, of your work, do you feel that this character was pretty much the most that you felt can make you feel more diversified, not just of character, but then to help also be more creative in your other works as well? Do you think that was the pinnacle in this junction of your career at this moment?
Yeah, Chris was the first. It was the first video game that I ever did, and just how lucky was I to get that part? I mean, I don't know if you know how I got the part of Chris Redfield, but I didn't actually audition for it. My wife was working as the office manager at a company called Sound Deluxe, which is where they did all the voice recording and sound design for Resident Evil. Sound designer Scott Gershon, who's actually a good friend of my wife's and mine, went to have lunch with my wife one day, and the casting person, Carol Rougier, was there at Sound Deluxe, and she said, "Hey, Joe, yeah, I know you're starting to do voiceover. We're doing this video game. It's called Resident Evil. I'd never heard the original voice in this game. Would you like to jump in the booth and see if you can voice match this guy?" Unfortunately, the guy that was the first voice of Chris Redfield passed away in 2000 from cancer. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and I got lucky. Chris is probably the other than Mr. Krabs for 4 of the SpongeBob video games. Chris Redfield is definitely the highest profile character that I've done. We're going out and doing conventions, and I'm signing autographs as Chris Redfield. So he continues to kind of be a huge part of my life. Now, one thing that happened after the game came out, after I did Chris and the game came out, I became a gamer, and I became very involved with the gaming community. And one of the things that I love the most about being Chris Redfield is being able to go out to these conventions and meet the fans, because they're the best. The Resident Evil fan base is so passionate about games and so intelligent about games, and just the love that all of us in the group feel from the fans when we go out and do these things is phenomenal. So, in the sense that Chris Redfield is the most important character to me, yeah, the pinnacle of characters, in that he has a community, he has a fan base. In Emperor's New Groove, the Disney film that I did 8 different voices in that, and some of those characters, people come up and say, "Oh, you were in Emperor's New Groove. What voices did you do?" And I say, "Well, I'm the guard that says, I've been turned into a cow. Can I go home?" And there are characters that resonate.
Go ahead and plug in any websites or any other projects or anything that you care to add to this.
One thing that has been really shocking to me is how much the game means to people. We were at a convention in Pasadena beginning of this year. A young girl came up to the table and she had tears in her eyes, and I said, "Honey, what's wrong? Why are you? What's going on?" And she said, "Well, Resident Evil, your game was father-daughter time. We loved to sit together and play the game and get scared and have fun and laugh. And my father loved Chris Redfield as a character, and he loved your voiceover, and he really wanted to meet you, but he died a month ago, and so he's not able to be here today." And so my heart was broken for this girl. The game meant so much to her. That's not an isolated situation. There are a lot of people who come up to us at the booths and say, you don't know how much, your character was there for me when I was depressed. And I got through a really bad situation just by playing this game, and it was able to, take me out of my rut. I've had little kids come up with their dads, and they're like, my dad got me into this game, and we love playing it together. And multi-generational. How many people can say that they've done a character that resonates not just with the people who played it at the time the game came out, but now those people's kids? And it's huge, and that makes my heart explode. It's just an amazing thing, the ability that a performance has to touch the hearts of the people that get to experience it.
There you have it, everybody. That is Joe Whyte.
Oh, thank you so much. Hey, it's been great being here, and all the best to you, Mike, and for the future of show that you're doing here. It's great. Thank you very much.